What is going on, guys? It's been several weeks since free agency opened, and somehow a handful of marquee names remain unsigned. We're talking multi-time Pro Bowlers and even some future Hall of Famers. Nonetheless, it's only a matter of time until these guys find a home.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
Here are our predictions for where the top remaining free agents will land. Richard Sherman, Seattle Seahawks. He's a year removed from an All-Pro selection and a Super Bowl 54 appearance. So yeah, it's surprising that the future Hall of Famer remains unsigned this late into the offseason. Injuries and age are a concern, but he can still instantly upgrade any team secondary. Rumors have suggested that Sherman and the Seahawks are interested in a reunion. And it makes perfect sense. The Seahawks have brought back several old friends before. Marshawn Lynch and Bruce Irvin come to mind. This is a team in desperate need of secondary help. Having lost starting corners Quentin Dunbar and Shaq Griffin in free agency, Sherman would form quite the duo with Jamal Adams. And he'd give Seattle a guy who can match up with the likes of Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, DeAndre Hopkins, and Brandon Ayuk in the brutal NFC West. Not to mention he'd be able to chase another ring late in his career. A 1 or 2 year deal with the first NFL team he ever knew would make sense for both parties. Melvin Ingram, Tennessee Titans. The 3-time Pro Bowl linebacker missed 9 games in 2020, and he didn't record a single sack in the 7 contests he suited up for. But let's not forget that Ingram posted at least 7 sacks in each of his previous 5 years, so it's surprising to see him still available. The Titans recorded just 19 sacks last year. They signed former Steelers pass rush Bud Dupree to fix this front 7. So why stop there? Ingram would add more power to this unit. Pairing him with Dupree would change the entire look of a defense that just couldn't get the quarterback a year ago. Mitchell Schwartz, New York Jets. Schwartz missed all but 6 games and the entire postseason, recovering from a back injury in 2020. So the cap-strapped Chiefs decided to release him, using the freed up money to sign former Patriots guard Joe Thuney. Back injuries to offensive linemen are always worrisome, and Schwartz finds himself on the wrong side of 30. But if he can fully recover, he'll be a fine bargain for someone willing to take the chance. The Jets are poised to take Zach Wilson with the number 2 selection. They have one promising young offensive tackle in Mekhi Becton. Why not add a veteran Pro Bowler? It'll give this unit some much-needed experience. Wilson will need all the protection he can get, and Schwartz should come cheap at this phase of his career. Eric Fisher, Miami Dolphins. Fisher suffered a torn Achilles in the Chiefs' AFC Championship win over the Buffalo Bills. His absence was felt during the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes had absolutely no time to throw, as they did with Schwartz. The Chiefs released Fisher in a cap-saving move. The question now is if he'll be able to fully recover from the gruesome injury. Miami Dolphins look like a good fit for Fisher. They need to fix the protection for second-year quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and they're unlikely to take a tackle with the number 6 selection. May as well address that need in free agency by giving Fisher a low-risk, high-reward type of deal. Kerrigan, Dallas Cowboys. The 4-time Pro Bowler has seen his overall production drop over the last 2 years. At this point, Kerrigan would be best used in a limited role on a defense that's in need of some leadership. The Dallas Cowboys have weaknesses all across the defense. Leighton Vander Esch is injury-prone, and the rest of the Cowboys' depth chart leaves a lot to be desired. Kerrigan would add some nice depth to a team that's looking to win now. Last year, we saw the Cowboys sign Everson Griffin rather late in free agency. Don't be surprised if they make another late play in 2021. Only this time it'll be for Kerrigan. Justin Houston, Carolina Panthers. Houston enjoyed a stellar 2-year stint with the Indianapolis Colts, recording 19 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. The man can still play at a high level, and he should be a bargain wherever he winds up. The Panthers could use their first-round selection on defense, but why not add some veteran help at a cheap price? Houston is a consistent threat to reach double-digit sacks, and he would bolster one of the league's worst pass-rushing units. Houston could also serve as a nice mentor to Carolina's young defense. He's the guy you want in a division that consists of 3 high-powered offenses. Casey Hayward, Las Vegas Raiders. The 2-time Pro Bowler had a very down season in what turned out to be his last with the Los Angeles Chargers. Though he allowed just a 49.4 completion percentage when targeted, Hayward surrendered 631 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns while in coverage. That's according to Pro Football Reference. Hayward is about to enter his age 32 season, and cornerbacks tend to slow down once they hit the wrong side of 30. It's fair to assume that Hayward's best days are well behind him, but it doesn't mean he can't still play. The Las Vegas Raiders had one of the NFL's worst defenses last season. They didn't add any significant names to fix the secondary during the early stages of free agency. Las Vegas also drafted cornerback Damon Arnett with their first-round pick last season. Something tells us they won't want to double down this year. And if that's the case, it makes sense for the Raiders to pick up a serviceable free agent like Hayward. Should we also mention that the new defensive coordinator Gus Bradley was also Hayward's DC with the Chargers? Maybe he can help get Casey back to playing like the Pro Bowler he once was. Russell OKUNG, Washington football team. The reigning NFC East champions have had one of the most productive offseasons. They upgraded the QB position by landing veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick. They found another weapon to complement Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. And they addressed the secondary by landing standout corner William Jackson. And All-Pro guard Brandon Scherf received the franchise tag, which keeps a significant portion of the O-line intact. That said, Washington could still use upgrades at offensive tackle, and this guy's gonna fit the bill here. He had a stellar 2020 season in Carolina, grading out at 73.0 by Pro Football Focus. The guy still has several productive years left, and he'd be the perfect win-now addition for Washington. Adding him would be the cherry on top of an impressive offseason for the football team. KJ Wright, Houston Texans. Wright is one of the NFL's most underrated defensive players of the past decade. Such is life when you play on a Seattle team with Bobby Wagner and the Legion of Boom for most of your career. Wright falls into the good at everything, great at nothing category. He gets it done as a pass rusher and run stopper. He's also very solid in coverage, which is always a bonus for a linebacker. The Houston Texans have handed out a plethora of short-term deals this offseason, bringing in the likes of Tyrod Taylor, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, Desmond King, and Malik Collins. Why not continue the bargain shopping by bringing in the versatile Wright? The Texans won't be a playoff team in 2021, but it's never a bad idea to bring in a former Super Bowl champion to help lead a young rebuilding club. Malik Hooker, Atlanta Falcons. Hooker displayed the makings of future stardom during his run with the Colts, but injuries unfortunately prevented him from reaching his full ceiling. Hooker suffered an ACL tear in his rookie year, and he produced nicely in 2018 and 2019, but played just 2 games in 2020 before suffering a season-ending Achilles tear. That's just brutal. The Colts chose not to pick up Hooker's 5th-year option ahead of the season, so here he is in free agency, waiting for someone to give him that prove-it deal. Hooker's coverage hasn't been great, but he is a quality ball hawker. He had 7 interceptions and 11 passes defended in 36 games with the Colts. Some team out there could use that kind of production. The Falcons let Keanu Neal walk in free agency, so there's a glaring need at safety. They're definitely not taking a safety with their first-round selection, so it makes sense to add Hooker. New defensive coordinator Dean Pease is one of the absolute best in the business. This is a guy who could totally get the most out of Hooker. Did we mention the Falcons desperately need some help at safety? I mean, come on. Alejandro Villanueva, Jacksonville Jaguars. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in a transitioning period, which means it was time for them to part ways with 2-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Alejandro Villanueva. It's surprising to see him still available, though. Villanueva was stellar in pass protection last year, allowing just 3 sacks on 1,098 snaps per Pro Football Focus. The Jaguars are set to draft Trevor Lawrence with the 1st overall pick. Giving him the best possible pass protection is obviously a must. They have a stud center in Brandon Linder and a quality guard in Andrew Norwell, but they could use upgrades at tackle. That's where Villanueva comes into play. Antonio Brown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's pretty clear that the vast majority of NFL teams want nothing to do with Brown. His history of behavioral issues is kind of hard to ignore. Apparently not for the Bucs. Tom Brady is one of the few guys who knows how to keep Brown happy and focused. We can't see any other team taking a chance on AB. And let's be real, he's not exactly a Pro Bowl talent anymore. I'm sure there's some teams out there that would do it, but teams obviously don't even want to consider the risk of signing him. The Bucs took that risk and were obviously fine with it since they won the Super Bowl, which is still pretty wild. When all is said and done, I mean, look for Brown to come back to Tampa Bay. They're gonna aim for a repeat, so I can see it happening. Adrian Peterson, Miami Dolphins. The future Hall of Famer isn't a full-time RB1 anymore, but the guy can still play. I can't believe he's still playing. It's pretty crazy. Even on a woeful Detroit Lions team, Peterson managed 604 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns in 2020. The man just keeps on trucking well into his mid-30s. Peterson doesn't seem keen on retiring anytime soon. How nice would it be to see him pursue a Super Bowl in the final season or 2 of his illustrious career? Myles Gaskin and Malcolm Brown aren't proven #1 running backs yet. If Brian Flores plans an RB by committee approach, he should add Peterson. This guy can share the reps with anyone or serve as the lead back in any given week. Peterson would also be a great fit on a young up-and-coming Miami team looking to take the next step in 2021. He would give Tua Tagovailoa another much-needed weapon in the backfield. It really seems like the perfect fit if you ask us. Alex Smith, Denver Broncos. Despite winning 5 of 6 starts en route to Comeback Player of the Year honors, Smith was released by the Washington football team. He was a great short-term fit there, but the injuries and limitations of Smith caused Washington to move in another direction this offseason. We haven't seen the end of his inspiring career, though. Smith can still still be a starter for a team that's looking to upgrade the QB position. The Denver Broncos have had a terrific offseason, but they're obviously not fully keen on moving on from Drew Lock. It makes perfect sense to bring in a serviceable veteran that can push him for the starting job. And that brings us to Smith. Unlike Lock, Smith is careful with the football and avoids the mind-numbing turnovers. He's a lot more accurate than Lock too, and maybe Smith would find a way to maximize the stacked group of skill position guys around him. Jerry Jeudy, Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, and Cortland Sutton. It's a lot of guys to work with. They make for a better group compared to what he had in Washington. If the Broncos don't draft the quarterback early, they owe it to themselves to sign Smith. With all that talent on their roster, they'd be so stupid to put all their eggs in Drew Lock's basket heading into 2021. I mean, listen, Lock has potential, he does, but it's not guaranteed. Where do you think the top remaining free agents of 2021 will land? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everything we post. Subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes one click down below, and subscribe to TPS. We post videos every day. Every day is a new video. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. I'll see you next time.
On my knee.